Back, fellow sawheads. So this is the third instalment of my Husqvarna 2100 CD rebuild. And so the rebuild roller coaster really now is clanking and grinding its way to the apex of excitement. So I'd suggest you might want to think about fastening your seatbelts for this one as we get into pressure testing the oil reservoir and associated components. So I have done a bit of preparation. I have blocked off the manual oil pump outlet spigot. I have installed the tank cap, and I shall be pressurizing it today via the automatic oil pump outlet, and as previously seen on this channel, I have a pressure gauge and I shall be inflating with a bicycle pump. So let's see what happens. Well, oh dear, but not entirely unexpected. And I did a bit of investigation, and the leak is coming from somewhere under here. So I'm going to have to take this part off and take some remedial action. So I've removed this thing, and what I've done is I've just stuffed this plastic cap in here in the outlet with a bit of blue tack, just so I can check if it's leaking from anywhere else. And this will pop out unless I hold it in, but let's give it a go. So that's kind of going down slowly, but again it's kind of good enough for the moment. Right, here's my attempt to remedy this situation. I've just cut out this. It's actually some sort of neoprene foam, I think. It's closed cell. I don't know what it's for. I don't know if it's oil resistant or what. It's got this sort of diamond pattern on it, but it's pretty thin. Anyway, I'm going to plonk that on here. Like that. Put it all back together and then give it another go. So here it is, installed once more. Much easier to do this stuff off camera. Should probably do the whole project off camera, just show you the finished result. But where would the fun be in that? So there's that foam squashed up in there. Here's our pressure gauge. Let's see what happens. Well, I think it's probably leaking at about the same rate. I should really put the thing in some water and find out exactly where it's coming out. Well, I think I might actually take my own advice and arrange to do a real proper underwater test on this tank. Slightly obsessive perhaps, but that's just the way I am. But what I'll do is I'll complete fitting the fuel tank fitments as well, the breather here and the fuel outlet hose, and then I'll test both the fuel tank and the oil tank at the same time, then I don't have to dry the thing off twice. But meanwhile, a short interlude while we're on the subject of leaks. I can draw your attention to these two parts here. Now obviously they've got paint on them because I've painted the thing, but as it came at time of purchase, these had clearly been broken off during use because there was none of the powder coat finish on here, and I couldn't quite figure out what had caused it. I found one other photograph of this tank with the same issue, but they didn't come like this from the factory, and I believe what it boils down to is these oil pipes here, this one and the other rubber pipe which will go on here, had a tendency to leak quietly behind the muffler which sits in front, and the oil would run down and get onto the rubber here, got one here, the rubber AV mount, rot the mount. And I think what's happened is, judging by the state of the chain on this chainsaw, our previous owner favoured operation with a very dull chain, and he probably liked to heave on the dogs to get through whatever log he was cutting. So I think what's happened in this case is the rubber has rotted away. If you can imagine this rubber turning into some sort of gooey mess, then what you have left is this outer metal piece. This one, it has a screw thread going in, so there's obviously it goes a certain way into the rubber. I think what's happened is, if I just screw this in here, end up with no rubber. There's a guy heaving on the dogs is going to... what's it going to do? Have I got my maths right? Yeah, that's right. He's lifting up on the rear handle, and that's pushing this end out, which will push this part, which is connected to the crankcase. It will push it up, and then you've got whatever metal inside here, I think has cracked these off on both sides. And also, as evidence, I present the state of this AV mount. This is what came on the saw, and it's suspiciously new looking. So I'd imagine they did indeed rot out, and they were replaced, and then probably the saw was stuck in storage and never saw much use, if any, with these mounts. So the original fuel tank breather was pretty much non-existent, so I've come up with this collection of random parts to make a new one. So here we have some sort of pneumatic connector, which I've modified slightly. On the underside I've soldered on a small disc of copper with a pinhole in there. The idea behind that is to stop wet fuel getting on the rubber parts, particularly this tiny duckbill valve here, causing them to swell up and maybe misbehave. So it actually uses two Homelite parts, which is this duckbill valve. I had to order this in from the US. I tried some that you can get on eBay from China, but I found they really got very swollen up when submerged in petrol. This sort pretty much retains its correct size even when left in petrol for a long time. And the second piece is this sintered bronze filter piece, which is to stop dirt and whatnot getting into the duckbill valve and causing it to misbehave. And these are normally found in home light caps. I have one here, as you can see. That's a sintered bronze filter, and behind that you'll find one of these duckbill valves, or rather you'll find a gooey mess in all probability, unless you've replaced it, because they rotted away and then your fuel cap would leak. So, fairly simple to assemble. Got this, it's an O-ring, it's actually just a sliver of fuel pipe, but it fits okay in here. Then duckbill valve goes in here, and this goes in there like that, and then this top cover just screws on hand tight like that. And I've already checked, there's enough space when the whole saw is assembled to be able to remove this and replace the valve should it become necessary. This breather hole happened to be the right size, and I've tapped it appropriately for this thread. So I shall install it now. I shall apply a small amount of Loctite 243 medium strength to get a good seal. This magnesium is very thin, so the thread won't be very strong, but we are not trying to hang a double-decker bus off it. So I think we'll be okay, as long as we don't over-torque it. How's that? Probably never get that off, but there we go. Well, I've cleaned off the excess Loctite around here, so now I think it's high time to fit the fuel line. Here it is, still seems to be in very good condition. It's just a push fit, I'm hoping, in here. But to help it go in, I shall just administer a small dose of grease. Help it slip in comfortably. My goodness, that's a tight fit. Oh, there we go. Very good. Next, I'm going to fit the fuel tank cap and the oil tank cap. Now these are slightly different. This is the fuel tank cap, and it has no breather on it because obviously the breather's up here. I've removed the chain that's designed to stop you losing the cap, because this nasty wire spring thing which is designed to fit inside, I don't really want that going in and scratching up the fragile coating on the inside, particularly on the oil tank, where it doesn't really go in very well on account of the design of this. I'm not in the business of losing caps in the undergrowth, so that shouldn't be a problem. So in goes the fuel tank cap, like so. Next, the oil tank cap. Now this does have a breather, you can tell by the small holes here, and if we turn it over, see there's this silicone rubber button which is normally closed but which will allow air to come into the tank. So I'm going to install that. So now we're just about ready to pump this tank up and dunk it in some water. But I'm going to leave that to the next video. But before I go, I really must apologise for how long it's taken for this video to appear. I may have got distracted along the way. Now, if it was life, if I was dying from some dreadful disease, that would be fine, but I'm afraid I got distracted by this little beauty here. Now, to be fair, I've been working on the 2100 CD for 2 years, but this thing I started 3 years ago. And I thought I'd have a quick interlude just to finish it off, get it all assembled in secret. And of course, as usual, it took a whole lot longer than it should have done. Nevertheless, here we are, and I can now leave you with some footage of this lovely little thing. It's a Polan 20. There's scant information on the interweb about these saws, so I think all in due course I shall be making a few videos explaining what I know about this. But meanwhile, I'm going to concentrate on the 2100. So, thank you for your patience, and thanks for watching.